And in order to give us the ultimate goodness, what does he have to do?
Bringing in a mechanism of choice.
He has to create a situation where the beings can emulate him or connect to him, right? And the way to connect to him is by getting higher and higher levels of perfection, right? By becoming better and better. Right. And when they do that, then they come closer to him, which means they get more and more goodness. Good, great. And for that, in order for them to get rewarded, they should do the good, not automatically, and not by necessity. They should do it because they want to. That's the idea of free will. Okay, good. Now we're in chapter 3. And we mentioned also that in order for our ability to receive this goodness, we need to make choices. So in order to make choices, God has created in us a situation where we can go either towards perfection or completion or imperfection, right? Increase the imperfections. We can go either way. And those are called the inclinations. Good inclination and bad inclination. We can go this way or we can go that way. We are right in the middle. We are right in the middle. And then he adds one more caveat, and he says, in order to do that, to have these both inclinations, we are made up of 2 parts. 1 hydrogen, 2 oxygen. I'm kidding. That's not it. By the way, did you hear that oxygen is dating magnesium?
That's not good.
Oh my God. OMG. So we are made up of 2 parts. What are the 2 parts that we're made up of?
Spiritual and physical.
Right. We're made up of a soul, a neshama, and a body. Yeah. The body pulls one way, and the soul is supposed to pull another way. The body pulls you towards the material, imperfection, because matter by definition is imperfect, because it is always in a state of potentiality. It's always a state of changing and becoming something else. That's how matter is.
So perfect is a static. Perfection
Correct.
Would be static.
Perfection is static. That's right. Can you hear that?
Can.
Isn't that cool?
It's not perfect.
It's perfectly clear. So then we have another part, which is the soul. And the soul is pulling us up. Okay? And that is the tension that we are supposed to feel. If you don't feel tension and a pull to 2 different directions, please call the manufacturer. There's a problem. So the body and the neshama are in a constant state of war. Constant state of war.
Why?
Because they're pulling to 2 different directions.
Is neshama towards perfection and body towards imperfection?
Correct. And neshama is pulling you towards God because perfections mean the more complete you become, the closer you are to God. And the body is by nature pulling you down because that's its nature. It's not because it's evil. It does what it's supposed to be doing.
Okay, so if you let's say specifically talking about an immense attraction to your wife, would you somehow relate that to something connected to the body, while that is something?
It depends what you're attracted to in your wife.
Like physical attraction, like a physical sexual attraction.
Yes.
Could you connect that attraction to the body?
Yes.
But that's also something that's prescribed as being a good and holy activity.
The attraction itself? You're supposed to find your wife attractive. But the question is, to what extent? What do you look? How are you expressing this attraction? And is it solely on the way that she looks or also on her behavior? Yeah. The way that she, acts. Not just because she looks a certain way. Yeah. So he says that there's a constant state of war. So that if the neshama is stronger, then it pulls the body up. You notice what happens? If the neshama is the one that's winning the battle, it pulls the body up. Whereas if the body wins, what does it do?
Pulls the body down.
Pulls the body down. That's the idea of a war. The other part becomes war captive. And it's taken down to the other side's camp. Okay? So he says if a person allows his material nature to take over, then not only will his body go down, but also his neshama. And he would not be ready, would not be able to perfect himself. And that is it. So you have to pay attention to what your body, where is it's pulling, and you have to pull the other way. So then he says, and God in his infinite wisdom and ultimate goodness created a situation to our benefit that this battle is not forever. It's not forever. There's a time of our existence where we are in battle between these two, the soul and the body. And then there reaches a time when there's no longer a battle. Which is when? Olam haba. Right, after death. The world to come. Correct. So there's an aspect of working on our connection to Hashem and perfecting ourselves to as much as we can. And then there's a time for reaping the rewards of all the hard work we did. So it's not like it never ends. That you're pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and you feel like, I almost got it, Oh man, it slipped away. Okay, pull and pull and pull and pull. No. You pull for 120 years. And then you get a beautiful, beautiful condo by the beach, golf course, no green fees. You get your own little cart. What?
For 120 years, I'll get you a condo.
What do you want?
Like my own place that's not attached to other places.
Fine. You know what? Then work harder, pull harder. Pull harder.
You could own the condo.
I have owned a condo before. It was not a good thing.
Uh-huh. Where was your condo?
Oahu.
That's why.
You're right, it was.
I know, but if it was in heaven, your neighbors won't bother you.
Some people considered Oahu heaven.
That's the problem.
It was.
That's the problem. It's a story that is told. Some of you might have heard about this. There was a couple who retired. They're in their 70s. They rented a car. They wanted to go for a drive in the California coast. And they're driving. They get into a car accident. They both die. And they go up to heaven. And, an angel shows up with a clipboard. He says, your name. And they say their name. He goes, okay, come with me. And they're looking at each other like, what? And he says, jump on the back. So they sit on the back of a golf cart. And he just zooms through, wherever he's going. And they stop by this mansion. It's just unbelievable. And he says, come on. It's like, who lives here? And he shakes his head. He's like, come on. Let's go. Keep moving. And he's like, what? Who lives here? This is yours. He says, what? This is yours. This is your mansion. You've earned it. Come on. The guy says, I can't afford to live like I don't have any money. Angel scratches his head and he looks at the chart again and he says, listen, you don't pay anything. This is yours. Let's go. He brings him in. He does a tour, like a fast tour. He shows him the kitchen and everything is opulence. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And they walk by these huge windows and he sees like there's a 18 hole golf course. And he says to the angel, tell me, who's my neighbor? Whose is this? And the angel says, what? He says, yeah, this golf course. Is it, how much are the green fees? Says, what do you mean green fees? He says, yours. He says, what do you mean? I can't afford the upkeep on a golf course. I don't have this kind of... It's like, listen, this is heaven. There's no problem. You don't pay for anything. You don't have to pay for watering the lawn. It's all green. Go play. Do whatever you want. Have a good time. So he says, okay. And now he takes him out to the pool, and there are 3 chefs cooking, and and buffet, and he says, now these guys will cook for you 3 meals a day, and the food's available all the time, and they'll make whatever you want, omelets and cakes, and he's looking, he's like, I can't eat this. The angel goes, why not? So the wife says, he's got cholesterol, he's got high blood pressure, he's got a little bit of diabetes, We have to be very careful with these things. So the angel says to her, listen, you're in heaven. Throws the clipboard down. He says, we're in heaven. There's no cholesterol, there's no blood problem, nothing. You can eat whatever you want. The guy turns to his wife and he says, you, with the granola bars, we could have been here years ago. So that's the idea. You don't want a condo? Fine, work harder, you get a mansion. So those of you who are the Kuzari Shir know that this is just a joke. There's no condo, there's nothing left. But that's a separate discussion, right? You see why I switched the text? Now. So there's a time where we are at war, and then there's a time where we are going to reap the benefits, the goodness that God is going to give us for the hard work that we've done in this world. And he continues, he says, you have to understand that it is necessary for the mind, and which is the area where the neshama controls, and the body with its material, that there would be nothing prohibiting the body from taking over, and there's nothing from the mind prohibiting for the mind to take over. So, need anything? Good? So there's nothing prohibiting you from successfully defeating the body, and there's nothing that is successfully stopping the body from defeating your mind.
Say that again.
Yeah. There's nothing that is making your mind win every battle. And there's nothing that is making your body win every battle. It can go either way. Right? It's like, you look at the cards, when you have like two boxers, when you look at the different, statistics on each fighter, equal. Each match, they're both equal. And okay, it's kind of like, how you play war with the cards, right? 3 and 7, okay, but you never know when, you're going to have a double. So this you're hitting double every single time. Boom, 5 cards. And then it's a double again. Like, look, the stakes are very high. The stakes are very, very high. Okay, good. So he says that really you have to understand that the reward comes only at the time where the situation has changed. What does that mean? In this world, the body and your soul both can pull in either way. But when you get the reward, only the soul is the one that's pulling. It's not the body. The body doesn't affect it. It just reaps the reward of the soul. That's it. Okay? Yes?
I'm trying to understand the last thing that you said about there's no pull either way. There's no pull for the body to win a battle or the mind to win a battle, right?
No. There's nothing prohibiting, limiting the body from winning, or nothing that is prohibiting the mind from winning.
Prohibiting it. Okay.
Yeah. Each side could win. There's nothing that says that, in the battle, the mind is going to win 3 out of 5. No. The body can win 10 in a row.
But you could measure statistically a probability of winning battle X with your mind, and the body has this amount of things pulling it towards whatever that decision might be.
It depends. Depends.
There's nothing prohibited. There's never going to be 100%. You have to choose with your body at this point, or you have to choose with your mind at this point. Is what you're saying in this world.
I don't understand the question. The way that I'm going to restate it, so maybe this will make your question.
Like I have, can I give an example?
Yeah.
You have diabetes, and you can decide whether or not you want to eat this thing that will spike your blood sugar level or not. And once you have diabetes, it's going to be an easier decision. But if you're addicted to cigarettes or something, it's not as easy of a battle. It's not as clearly defined. So it's maybe 75% in favor of your body winning that battle versus.
I don't know that your example, in a sense, is a battle between the neshama and the body.
What would be a good battle?
You have two opportunities. You can go on a date, or you could stay in night Seder and learn with Rabbi Wiener. That's your call. The body's going to say, dude, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to go on and talk to her. It's public. What's going to happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? Right? And then the Neshama says, I'll tell you what's the worst thing that could happen. We're staying in yeshiva. And we're adding 2 cold showers. And the shomer, a guard. Right? The Neshama is going to say, listen, we're not even going anywhere near that place. We're staying on this side. You're saying within the idea of, the body has certain limitations because of overeating or whatever it is, then, okay, but that's not a neshama body pull. That's not, sugar-free ice cream or the real thing, gelato. Neshama is not really involved in that.
Why not?
What's the spiritual significance of either or?
Like what
The only thing they would say, I would tell you, is if you have the following. I just ate the greatest steak. And they're bringing dessert. And it's gelato dairy ice cream. And then they have sorbet that tastes like, my grandmother's shoes. Okay? Those are my choices. Now the body's going to say, come on, just eat the ice cream. And you're like, Grandma, love you. Could eat the sorbet.
Is there an option not to have dessert?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Always. Can have some flower petals.
How does this idea of their each having equal pull and equal opportunity to overtake the other work in the context of people being born in different situations with different emphases?
So this is this part of the Derech Hashem, which is the text we're learning, the path of the Lord, of God. Is we're talking about prior to Adam sinning in the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
We are not at this level. We are in a much worse situation than this. This was how God created the perfect world. The human being was right in the middle. And the soul could go or the body could go. And all he had to do was just make a little bit of effort and you would have saved the body. But after the sin with Adam, you can't even save the body anymore. Why? Because your body has to die. Because we've corrupted matter so much that there's no hope of rescuing it spiritually. In the Garden of Eden, there was that. That was a possibility, that the neshama could lift the body and turn it more spiritual. But at the stage after the Garden of Eden, you don't have that possibility. It's pulling you down. Okay? So we're not really talking about any situation for us. Because we are not at that place, unfortunately. Okay, so now let's get into that topic. So he says that really the Adam, when he was created, was exactly in the middle. He had a neshama and he had a body. He was right between good and bad. And he could choose the good and strengthen his neshama over his body. And he would have been perfected quickly, and he would have stayed in his completed, perfected sense forever. But that didn't happen. Why? What happened in the Garden of Eden? Does anybody remember?
The serpent influenced woman to take of the fruit of knowledge.
Yeah, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right?
Right. And then the woman somehow made the man, or involved the man by having him eat of the fruit of the tree.
It was very easy for her. She said to him, listen, I love you, honey. Look what I brought you. Taste it. No. I brought this for you. I worked all day to bake this. I'm kidding. But taste it. You ever been with people? There are people like this. I have a friend, a guy, that he'll order something and he's like, oh, this is gross. Taste it. Like, no, if it's gross, I'm not tasting it. I don't need to validate it was disgusting, Like, taste it. Oh, I'm not tasting it. Get out of here. Right? People, oh, this is really good. That's it. They don't say, oh man, right? You gotta taste this. They're like, no, I don't have to taste it. So she came to him and said, look, I got you this. And it was all over. Well, the thing is, he blames God for that. He says, the woman that you've given me, she made me do it. Oh, you're dragging me. God's like, what? Me? You were lonely, sitting in your bedroom by yourself, playing, guitar on your cassette tape, rewinding every night. I get you a girl to make you happy, and then you blame me? Just say no, buddy. Right?
The Nancy Reagan stance.
What's Nancy
Just
Reagan?
say no.
Just say no. You know what? If you just learn to say no, it'll make your life a lot simpler. Especially if you're in work. Could you do this project? Oh, no, I'm sorry. How about that? No. That definitely no. Taste it? No. That no. We don't do that. Okay. So he says that when Adam sinned, something happened. And what happened? He says there was a big change. In the beginning, there were certain things in the natural world that were imperfect. And God created them that way. Okay? If you want to know why, you're going to have to sign up for the 6-month program. Because really it's that complicated. It's a very, very complicated topic that involves a lot of Kabbalah and lots of different things. It's worth it. Eliasaf and I learned that for a while. It's a very, very interesting topic, but we're not going to get into it here. So God created the material aspect of creation with certain amount of imperfection. And the simple reason is so that Adam would be right in the middle of between imperfection and perfection. If everything was perfect, then he couldn't be in the middle. Right? It's very simple. But why does it have to be this way and how it's done? That was a whole sort of, a whole different topic. And he had the ability to earn his perfection or completion with his own hands. All he had to do was do a couple of things and it'll be done. And one of it was to say no to eating from the fruit. That was it. It's very simple. Just say no. But he didn't. And so what happened? His action brought not only more imperfections on the material aspect of creation, but also imperfections in human beings. So he essentially lowered us to a more materialistic level, and it becomes much harder for us to repair ourselves.
Was he perfect starting off, or was he just...
Yes.
So then how can perfection...
But remember, he had in terms of his material aspect, he had the ability to choose imperfection. And he had the ability to choose perfection.
Still in the middle.
He was still in the middle.
But he wasn't in the middle. He was perfect. He was perfect with an ability to choose. I mean, before you were saying like we are right in the middle.
Right in the middle, right between perfection and imperfection. But remember, he needed one action, one thing, and he would have been perfect, and it would be done. One thing
that he hadn't yet done.
Correct, which is keep one commandment. One thing.
How many times would he have to have kept it? So he just had to not eat it once, and then it would have gone.
It would have been. Like, dude, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't stay away from the tree, please. No. That's how it, right. That's exactly the case. But the question is, why did he do it? The question is, why did he do it? Why? Did he not know that he's not allowed to eat it?
It was the only girl on the planet.
Yes. But she didn't make, but why did she eat it?
She was tricked.
Because she changed. Sorry,
She what?
I was gonna give something.
What?
Well, with understanding why she kind of like fooled herself by changing Hashem's laws.
Well, certainly something happened there. And we can't say that they did it because they really wanted to sin against God. Something was that. Something went terribly, terribly wrong.
I feel like I have a very inaccurate idea of what was actually happening. And I
Oh.
don't know how clear it can get, but when I picture someone not doing something like, let's just say picking an apple off a tree.
It's not an
I'm
apple.
not supposed
A
to
fruit.
If I'm not supposed to pick a fruit, I'm not picking that fruit.
No matter what.
Like, not no matter what. Just that if I'm not doing something, every second that goes by, every moment that goes by, I'm not doing it. So to say that he has to not do it.
He has to last till Shabbos.
Okay, so it's not like a once.
But remember, they are Friday afternoon.
Okay, so it's not once like. Once means like I did this thing once. If you're not doing something, you can't say it's one time that I didn't do it, and therefore.
Oh, fine, I see the distinction that you're making. Fine, good point.
Could it be said that that one opportunity wasn't just every second of not eating it, but the actual trial having to do with Eve offering?
No, because even her eating, there was, a big deal.
But it begs the question, like, how could a cunning serpentine creature have the capacity to do that without God being aware or controlling that situation?
But why do you assume that God is not aware of the situation?
He's aware of
He
everything.
knows exactly what's going on. He knows exactly what's going on.
Maybe he was testing them.
He knows. This was like, listen.
Yeah, so
All you have to do, you've got 3 hours. Don't eat the fruit. And then there's this clock. Right? 3 hours. I don't know, 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is, whatever the amount. They were created on Friday, so this was the way they had to wait. Let's just wait. And for us, we're like, why couldn't you just wait?
Right there, and there was a girl saying, "Do it."
No, but
Peer pressure.
that's not it. The Meforshim actually say there's something else, something much deeper is going on here. That they actually did it for God's sake. And that is, that you have to sign up for the 9-month plan. Because that is like a whole separate topic. Because really the way that we look at it in Judaism is they did it for God's sake. Yes, they shouldn't have done it. But they really did it for God. Because they were hoping to do something. And they thought if they were successful, it would have been unbelievable. But they failed. What?
Epically.
Yes, absolutely. And there are other biblical figures who tried to redo what they did, and they also failed and made things much worse. So it's not the only time.
Like the golden calf or something?
Golden calf. There's lots of examples. So we'll get to it, God willing. I mean, in short, I'll just tell you because I don't want to keep this mystery. Is that, the way the Meforshim say is that Adam and Eve, Adam and his wife, had remember a connection to God that was very, very high, and they said, we want to bring the same connection that we have to God at this level. We're gonna drop down a level, and we're still gonna maintain our connection to God. and we're going to do big Kiddush Hashem. We're going to sanctify God's name. That is to say, right now we're in pure light. And we are going to go in the darkness, and we're going to show the light in the darkness. That's what they wanted. We will go down into the darkness, and with our connection to God, we're going to light up the darkness. And they thought they could do it. Because why? Because they were connected in the light. They didn't figure that when you leave the light, you don't have a light source. And the whole thing came crashing down.
And was that idea implanted by the serpent?
No, I think the serpent, I think the serpent comes to Adam and Eve with a different topic altogether. He comes to her and says the following. If you look at the verses, you'll see that is what's really going on. He says to her, who told you that there's anything forbidden? He's asking her and asking every human being the following question. Why do you assume there's certain things you can't do? Who told you that?
Who's asking me?
The serpent. He's asking her, who told you can't eat of any of the fruit? And she says, no. It's not that we can't eat any of the fruit. It's only one fruit. He's asking her the basic question that every human being asks themselves. Right? Your parent tells you, don't do this. Don't touch the TV remote. Why not? Why not? Why can't I? You can't go out. It's school night. Why not? Don't touch the oven. Why not? Don't hit your brother. Why not? It's my house. There is a basic human feeling that we don't like rules. And he comes to her and says, where did you get this idea that you're bound to live by certain rules? Do whatever the hell you want. And what does she respond? She says, well, God told us. And he says to her, what did God tell you? So she says, not to touch the tree, for I will die. So he says he pushes her into the tree. She pushes her into the tree. And she sees that she doesn't die. So if she doesn't die, so you're allowed to touch it and nothing happens to you. So guess what? You're also allowed to eat it. And then everything spins out of control. So the serpent and what they try to do and what the serpent tries to tell them, I think they're two different processes going on. But I think the serpent challenges the basic premise of the Torah. The Torah says that this is God's world and we have to live according to God's rules. And the premise of the serpent says, who says there are any rules that you have to follow? Do whatever you want. Who told you? He says, you can't eat any of the fruit? Where'd you get this crazy idea? And she says, no, it's only this fruit. Why are you listening to him? Which is really, if you think about it, there isn't a lot of difference between a secular person and a religious person. Except on that issue. A religious person says, this is God's world. My life belongs to him. And hence I have to live according to the way that he teaches me. And a secular person says, it's my life. I can do whatever I want. And then you take that starting point for thousands and thousands of decisions that a person makes during a day, during a month, during a year. And you end up worlds apart. But really there's no difference. We're starting out with a very, very small difference. And the question is really a very important one. Whose life is it? If this is God's world, then okay, we're done. The conversation is essentially over. Find out what are the rules. How does he want? What is the plan? Why does he do what he does? And you have a path. But if you say, no, there isn't, it's my life, I can do whatever I want, then it becomes, I think, in some sense. More problematic and more complicated. Because what do you want? Well, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. And so then you feel the pull of the body and the soul. Because the body says, I want this. Sometimes your soul still exists and says, there's more to life than this. I want more meaning. I want more than this. More. And the body says, meaning, come on, let's go to the beach. Let's go to the beach. All right, let's stop here and we'll continue, God willingly, tomorrow.